I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. In fact, if you've been looking at my website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is A Hard Landing. And that is because tomorrow we are having the first of the spring eclipses. It's a solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Taurus. And there are a lot of planets in Taurus at the time. And so, since it's a fixed financial sign, the sun and the exalted new moon, because the moon is exalted in Taurus, it's actually stronger than the sun in Taurus. So those two planets, the lights, are at 0 degrees, and then they are joined later on in the sign by Mercury at 16 degrees and Uranus at 18 degrees. So they are conjuncting within Taurus as well. These four planets, though, emphasize everything that Taurus stands for, because there's so many planets there, and it's the traditional ruler of the second house of how you make your money and what you spend it on or invest it in. And so the reason why the show is titled A Hard Landing is because there is a very powerful planet, Pluto, at exactly the same degree as the solar eclipse tomorrow. It is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So it is very harshly squaring the sun and new moon, which is exalted, at 0 degrees. And also Mercury and Uranus in Taurus as well. Well, these are fixed signs, and it's 5 planets in fixed signs in a very harsh aspect. Pluto is a planet of power, and it generally represents people in powerful positions. They could be heads of organizations, or they could be in upper management, or they could be the owners of something, so they sort of have a lot of clout. And they are in the sign of the future, Aquarius. Aquarius rules things that are ahead of their time. So it not only rules your future, but it rules invention. And it rules things that go through the air. And it rules electricity and space and aviation and the whole telecommunications field. And it rules computers and the internet and satellites. And so with this very powerful planet in Pluto in Aquarius squaring all 4 planets in Taurus, which all represent financial matters, there is bound to be a hard landing somewhere in the world. And so it may not happen directly to you or to me, but it might affect us. And we may not quite know about it yet, because there are some other planets, and in fact, the day after the solar eclipse, Mercury, the planet of the mind and of communication, is going retrograde or backward. And remember, this spring, all the planets have been direct. That's been great for going ahead and getting a lot of things done. But now, the day after tomorrow, Mercury will go retrograde, and it does represent news. And so I'm not so sure that we are going to have the news about a hard landing immediately, but it's either occurring now or it's already occurred, and perhaps we'll find out by the time that Mercury goes direct in about 3 weeks. So that could happen. And what this all means with these 5 planets in fixed signs in very harsh aspect, it simply means that the financial terms of some sort of agreement are going to have to be revised. See, Mercury will be going backward. And so it means that they will, financial terms will have to be revised. And the reason why is that with Pluto exactly at the same degree, 0 degrees of Aquarius, squaring the sun and the exalted moon in Taurus, it means that people in powerful positions can be requiring that financial terms be revised. Maybe it's because they are worried about their bottom line, if they are company owners. Or it can simply be that they want to make some sort of a power play concerning financial matters that they're very involved in right now. So these power plays could be going on among people who are in high tech, but pretty much at the top in their field. Or it could be going on among leaders in governments, even governments of whole countries. Or it could be going on among people who head banks, because banks deal with financial matters, or large investment groups, such as people who run pension funds. And so, you know, at a very high level, there is a challenge to the financial status quo, and it's not going to remain the way it has been. There's going to have to be some changes. And that's why somewhere in the world, I'm not so sure that it's happening to you or me, but somewhere in the world, there's either already been a hard landing or it's just about to happen. And I don't think it will necessarily surprise people, but it's going to represent bad news, and so that's no good. And so what that really means is that I think there is a financial collapse or some threatening setback, a financial one, that can be imminent. And as I said, it's already happened, just happened, or it's just about to. And that can simply mean that it can't be hidden anymore. In other words, these things don't really happen overnight. I mean, people who manage a lot of money, they do know what's going on, but maybe there hasn't been a way to stop it. And so, who will this affect? What effect will a financial collapse have? Or who will it affect the most? Well, it'll affect things that are connected with the sign of Taurus. Since this is a solar eclipse eclipses always denote new beginnings. And so, due to a hard landing, some people may need to create a new beginning, or for sure financial terms will have to be revised. And so, this can particularly affect wealthy investors. That's what Taurus rules, investments. Or it could affect people who own very high-priced real estate. That's what Taurus rules as well. Or it can be people or banks or investment groups or pension funds which have lent the money for large commercial projects, such as apartment buildings or shopping centers or any kind of big real estate development. Because commercial property is ruled, or commercial real estate is ruled by Taurus. And so it can affect people that have money. But if you think back now to some of the things that could represent a financial collapse, you could think about maybe just even the bad weather we've had this last year. In other words, there could have been, remember all the tornadoes that hit our country? Well, that's going to be expensive to replace. Or it can be that other countries have been put under financial sanctions, and so their economy really is hurting, and there would have to be a revision of financial terms for them. And so, why is this happening? Why now? Well, one, it's a solar eclipse, and eclipses always denote change. But also, the reason why it's happening now, or why, I think it's been going on for a while, but why it can be announced or proclaimed is because Pluto is the planet that's creating these harsh conditions. Remember, Pluto is at exactly the same degree as the solar eclipse. So Pluto's at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which rules our future, all of our futures, and the sun and new moon are at 0 degrees in Taurus. Well, Pluto is the ruler of the other financial sign, Scorpio. And Pluto and Scorpio are the two financial signs, and they oppose each other. Well, actually, Pluto is squaring Scorpio, the sign it rules, and it's squaring the solar eclipse with those 4 planets in Taurus. So what does Scorpio rule? Since it's Pluto that's, setting all this up right now. Well, Scorpio rules credit, debt, taxes, loans. It rules insurance proceeds or insurance companies and the payout by them. And once again, those tornadoes which devastated large parts of America, a lot of that was insured, and so the insurance companies are going to be hurting as they have to rebuild. And so it rules, as I said, credit, debt, loans, taxes, insurance companies, inheritance. There could be higher and higher taxation on inheritances. And it rules grants. It rules money coming in from any other source. Well, it rules the people that control that, who manage that money as well, because Scorpio rules money management. And Taurus rules money investment. So why would it be happening now? Because one of the things Scorpio rules is debt. And the debt in this country, really throughout the world, is remarkably high. And so the combination of high debt and high interest rates and high inflation and low productivity, what people are actually doing at work. Well, coming out of that pandemic and getting back to work, not everybody's feeling really productive anymore. And, everybody has sort of fallen behind, and nobody's in a rush right now. And so I think that people are still suffering from the lockdowns and the isolation that the pandemic created. I mean, I don't know how you could compare the psychological damage of the pandemic to the physical damage of the pandemic, in other words, the death rate. But I wish somebody would measure that, because I'll bet you the psychological damage is way higher, because it affected everybody, not just the sick people. COVID affected people who were sick, but the pandemic affected everybody psychologically, and it was not healthy. And so what we have is, we have just a whole lot of things piling up right now, combined with high debt, credit card debt or any other kind of debt. For instance, it may not be, as I said, it's somewhere. A financial collapse is imminent and it's somewhere. But it could be happening, if you stop to think about all those tall, high-rise buildings that were built in China that are still empty. That's a real estate problem. And there was a lot of money put into that. And if nobody's living in those buildings, that's a problem. And the same thing is true of any country that's sort of overbuilt, or has overestimated, or has gone into a tremendous debt, and maybe isn't able to raise taxes. Maybe they've just spent and spent and spent, and so their country is really broke. So that's what we have to look forward to. Eclipses, the effect of an eclipse lasts for 6 months. But I think a hard landing could last a little longer. And so it's very important for you to make sure that you're paying down your bills, and that even if you have to take a second part-time job to do that, it would be worth it, because debt is the reason why we're having a hard landing, combined with a lot of other unsustainable pressures, financial pressures on people. High interest, high inflation, high debt, low productivity. So this is a time, since both spring eclipses are in the financial signs, just like they were in 2022. All the eclipses last year were only in 2 signs, Scorpio and Taurus. And this year, this spring, they're still in only Taurus and Scorpio. And so we still have to address financial problems, and hopefully we'll get somebody to solve them. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. What this means for you, Aries, is that it's really nice that you still have Jupiter in your sign. Next month it will go into Taurus. Maybe some things will turn around because Jupiter's a really good planet. But right now, Aries, if I were you, I would really take advantage of that, having that in your sign, because it's the only planet in a fire sign. So this is simply a time when, since all the Taurus eclipse with all 4 planets are right ahead of your sun sign, Taurus, I mean Aries, there is a financial matter that there's going to have to be some terms that need to be revised for one reason or another. I mean, a lot of people are looking at that, or they will be looking at that, due to the fluctuating value of investments. And also, it sort of depends on who's doing the investing. It might be that some large banks have invested in big development projects that nobody's really moving into because, you know, the budgets are a little bit lower now and inflation is very high. So a lot of people are caught in, they are the victims of conditions that are beyond their control. And you could be too, Aries, because, you know, nobody controls all the money in the world, and nobody controls all the investments, and nobody controls all the debt. So that's why each one of us has to sort of, we almost have to start over and be really, really careful with our money. And so, since your sign has that wonderful Jupiter in it and it rules new beginnings, if you were going to sort of turn over a new leaf right now, Aries, and try to pay down some debt or revise financial terms in some way to make it a little easier on your budget, you might be successful at that. You should give that a try. Because Jupiter is the planet of goodness. It's just that it's the planet of abundance too. So if you have overspent in any way, you're going to have to sort of pull in your belt and pay off your bills. But you could do it right now, Aries, and you could probably do a really good job of it. So I hope you do. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. Taurus, this is sort of a day of reckoning. And as I said, with Mercury going retrograde one day after the solar eclipse, the eclipse is tomorrow in your sign, and then the next day, Mercury, which is Mercury, which is in your sign, is going to go retrograde. So there is going to be some financial matter that is involving an investment of yours, or something that is sort of high price that you own, or there's going to be a fluctuation in the value of things that you own, Taurus, and it is because other people are putting pressure. They're feeling pressure themselves, but at a very high level. I mean, maybe their financial outlook isn't too good either. And so something's going to have to be revised or redone. And I would say that it might involve a little bit of downsizing in your budget, Taurus. Now, believe it or not, that would be good news. And the reason why is that no one, not a person, not a corporation, not a government, no one can live through a sustained level of high debt or of high interest rates. And the real killer is high inflation, because inflation makes everything worth less. You know, think of a balloon. And the way you know the balloon's there is you inflate it with a lot of hot air. Well, that's a good description of inflation. As inflation rises, whatever price is going up on something, it's not worth that price. That's just the inflated price. There's nothing in between the true value and the inflated value. That's why inflation needs to go down, so we go back to things that have real worth. So anyway, you may be a little stuck, Taurus, with something that isn't quite as valuable as it used to be, or it isn't quite as valuable as you thought it would be, and therefore financial terms will have to be revised in one way or another. And believe it or not, if values come down to something where it's not an inflated value but a real value, that is sort of bankable. That can be a real true measure of the value of your investments. And on that level, even if it's a lower level, more baseline level, your financial position can be more credible and not threatened because of its true value. So if the value falls on something, Taurus, and gets a little closer to its true value, in the long run you may be thankful for that. And so just hold on to what you have if you can, Taurus. Or if you have to sell something that is very high priced, you may not get what you paid for it. But if you have a financial obligation connected to it and you want to sort of get out from under the obligation, then it would be a good idea to sell it. And that way you can just manage your money a little bit better. This is a very good time to consider buying and selling, and not so much on the buying part, but really on the selling part if you can. Okay, what does it mean to Gemini? Well, Gemini, Venus is in your sign, which is wonderful, because your sign does rule conversation and communication and easy transitional change and buying and selling and marketing and advertising. And it rules journalism. And so, you know, interacting and really communicating. So you could sort of be in your element right now, Gemini, very much in control of your own message. And people can be eager to be asking your advice for things. You would have good short-term suggestions for how to handle situations that can be a little bit threatening right now. And the reason why you can be so effective at that, Gemini, is because Pluto, which is causing a lot of financial challenges right now, is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and therefore it is trining Venus in your sign. And so during the time that Mars was in your sign, from August until just a week or so ago, you could have undergone a lot of pressure from people or conditions that were not very nice, or other people who were very aggressive or argumentative. No, Mars is both of those, and it was in your sun sign. It wouldn't make you that way, but you could have been the victim of other people that were like that. Well, now Venus is in your sign. Oh, what a change. You could be finding out right now, Gemini, just how many people think very highly of you and really like you. And this is also an excellent time to make new friends, because you can do it. So I would say that you need to reach out, because you would have the backing of other people that are rather powerful or high up in management somewhere, because Pluto is trining that Venus in your sign. The loyalty of old friends, you would have that, Gemini. So I sort of hope you make the most of it. You may as well. It could sort of make up for what you went through this last winter. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Cancer. This is a time, Cancer, when I think that you can profit still from the fact that all three malefic planets are actually getting along. This hard landing isn't being caused by the malefic planets. Generally, a big upset is caused by one of the malefic planets, but actually they're all getting along right now. It is caused by the things that the two financial signs rule. Taurus rules investments, and Scorpio rules debt, and loans, and taxes, you know, all those things that eat into your income. And so those are the things that are setting up a threatening situation, or are the grounds for a financial collapse, whether we have heard about it yet or not. I would say that it's already started to occur somewhere, and that the news really is going to come out. People already know about it. It may be that they've been trying very hard not to say anything because it would affect markets, but it will come out anyway. And so this is a time, Cancer, when you should sort of stay home. I mean, I know you may decide that you have a lot of projects that catch up on at home. Mars is a very energetic planet, and it's in your sign. But it is being trine by Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, meaning that if there was something that you had had in the back of your mind, which is sort of like a dream, and you sort of wanted to get to work on it and sort of make it come true, I'd really go to it, Cancer. I mean, work on that. Neptune rules dreams, and it's trining your sun, and it has been for years. So I mean, I'm sure you would rather be doing something else, or you'd rather be living somewhere else, or with someone else. And, you know, start working on that. As long as you can have that Martian energy, put it to good use, Cancer, because it's not hurting you. I mean, unless you want to argue with people, because Mars is an argumentative planet, so I wouldn't do that. But it will give you enough energy to just face the fact that you'd probably rather be either somewhere else or with someone else, and you could probably make a dream come true now, do the real physical work of it, and get that done. And on top of that, if there is a financial collapse, it may actually benefit you in one way or another. I know that sounds almost impossible, but one way that it could benefit you, Cancer, is because if it happens to somebody else who has a property or an investment that is real high priced, that you just think, oh, you could never afford it, well, if there's a financial collapse, ooh, and the price comes down, maybe you could afford it. I don't know. But there is that possibility, because Uranus is the third malefic planet, and it's in Taurus, along with the lights and with Mercury. But remember, Cancer, always, Cancer, anytime there is a planet in Taurus, it sextiles your sun. It's offering you a chance for an opportunity. Sextiles represent opportunities. Well, there's 4 planets in Taurus tomorrow, and they all represent opportunities, and one of them is your ruler, the exalted moon. So, you know, if I were you, Cancer, I'd aim higher, or I'd aim really high right now. You don't have anything to lose. As long as you don't argue with anybody, and you just sort of focus on what your dreams are, or what you want, I would say that you could get an awful lot of help from that. 4 planets in Taurus are sextiling your sun, and 2 more planets in Pisces are trining your sun. And you have a planet in your sign. That's 7 planets that are very favorable to your sign, Cancer. So get to work on something. This is the right time to use that Martian energy to your advantage. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Leo. This is a time, Leo, when you know, it's almost a last gasp time or opportunity for you to make a new beginning. And that is because Jupiter is still in Aries, and it will be until next month. And it is still trining your sun, which is great. So there is the possibility that if you have already started on a new beginning, or if you've heard about some opportunity for a new beginning and you've been saying to yourself, oh, well, someday I'm going to follow up on that. Well, today would be a really good day to do that, Leo. And that is because there are no planets in fire signs. There's nothing in your sign, Leo. And the 4 planets in Taurus under tomorrow's solar eclipse, the Sun, exalted moon, Mercury, and Uranus, all square your sun, Leo. And the one that's really causing the problem, Pluto in Aquarius, is opposing your sun. And so, Leo, somewhere in your life you do have money problems. It doesn't mean you're broke, Leo. It means that either the price is too high on something, or your budget is already so committed that you can't really stretch it too much further. Or it can be that you might have been living an extravagant lifestyle, and if the value of your investments falls, which it just might, then if you were enjoying investment income and the income drops, and you still have high bills, then you're facing some sort of need to revise financial terms. And that could certainly be possible, Leo. That's why I'm saying, try to think not of just sticking to what you want, but of how to make a new beginning, in light of the fact that you are going to be under financial pressure of one sort or another. And I don't think anybody's going to get their way. I mean, you could go around and tell people, well, you owe me this and you owe me that. Either they're just in the same boat you are with a reduced budget, or they're in even worse shape, and it's not going to happen. So you really have to either work and play well with others now, or start out in a new direction with a lot less extravagant lifestyle. And I think the only way that anybody can have a less extravagant lifestyle is to cut down on their spending. You know, just don't spend so much anymore. I mean, that'll really help you in the end. Well, it's not as much fun, but you'll just have to think of more free things you can do, Leo, until the values come back up on things. Because I'm pretty sure you're going to have to revise some financial terms on something. Or you're going to have to be very strict with your spending. And, you know, you're going to have to really cut that budget down a little bit. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, when I would say that you could sort of see the light. And by that I mean there is a tremendous amount of light trining your sun and the Capricorn sun. Because the 4 planets under the solar eclipse in Taurus tomorrow, the sun and the exalted moon and Mercury, your own ruler, Virgo, and Uranus are in Taurus, all trining your sun. That's what I mean by I think you can see the light. Okay, so what would the light be shining on in your life, Virgo? Probably an investment of yours, or an investment that you'd like to make. Or something where, okay, the price might be a little bit higher, but you might have the money for it. And I would say that in times of high inflation, I wouldn't pay a real high price for something. Wait till it comes down. Because if we're going to be looking at some sort of financial collapse or threatening setback, financial setback somewhere, and it doesn't have to be right here, but it's surely going to be somewhere, then you know you might want to wait a little bit, Virgo, and understand that time is on your side, and because your own ruler is trining your sun. And just keep your eyes open for things and wait for prices to fall, because they're going to. And it doesn't even have to be that they fall a lot, but every time they fall, you're going to save money. And the point is, Virgo, you probably have the money to make a pretty good investment. I'm just saying, watch the timing. And this is not a good time to pay too much for anything. First of all, it's not worth it. Everything is inflated. And so try to sit tight right now, Virgo. And if you are thinking of selling things, well, okay, that would just give you more money. Maybe this is just a time for you to put more money into a retirement plan, but be real careful where you're putting that money, because even pension funds are facing the same hard landing that everyone else is facing, because they make investments, and that's what Taurus rules, and Pluto is squaring the sun and new moon. You know, if there wasn't a direct hit at the exact degree of this solar eclipse, it wouldn't be so threatening. But there is a direct hit. You know, Pluto is at 0 degrees, and so are the sun and exalted moon. And it's in the sign of the future. So look before you leap, Virgo. And it may be wiser of you to accumulate money rather than spend money right now, so that you are better prepared to spend it more wisely in a period of time, which is coming up, where prices will drop. It's just better use. You can stretch your dollars a little bit better that way. So I hope you think about that, because I think you can see the light. And the light means that I think you might see a way to make it through a hard landing without feeling it too much. I think you could do that if you were careful. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time, Libra, when I hope you just think of lightening up a little bit. And the reason why is you have two very good planets, both trining your sun. And one of them is your ruler. Venus is now in Gemini, and it is trining your sun. You can be very popular and very attractive to younger people. Gemini rules younger people. And they can just be looking up to you, Libra, and thinking that you are wonderful, even if you were the same age as somebody else. They would still be looking up to you and thinking you were great. And so that's good, Libra. And Gemini rules two of everything, but it rules part-time and temporary efforts. And so there is the possibility that you may be able to be working on one thing, which perhaps you're already working on, and still pick up something else that's part-time and work on that for a while. And do both of them. And that would be fine. And there's a real possibility of that. So Libra, just having your own ruler trining your sun means that you could take short trips. That's what Gemini rules. And you could be very attractive to other people that you just meet very casually. Oh, that would be great. And then the other planet that's trining your sun is, it's being a heavy hitter right now. It's Pluto in Aquarius. But it's trining your sun and the Gemini sun. So it's having a real harmful effect on the solar eclipse in Taurus because it's squaring it exactly. But it isn't hurting you, Libra. And so if you are sort of looking down the road at a better future, I think that it's going to be okay. I think you probably should stay on that road because I think it's going to get better. Pluto is going to go back into Capricorn. It's going to sort of go back and forth this year, but it's really going to end up in Aquarius and trining your sun for years. That's why I think you should look down the road. And that the further you look toward the horizon, you know, the better it's going to be for you. I mean, really, as you're looking at the future, it's going to open up. Little by little, but it'll open up. Pluto is a very slow planet, but a very powerful one. And as it opens up, you can look down that road and, you know, it can really extend a long way. So what would that road represent, Libra? Your life. There is the possibility that depending upon where you go, or the friends you make, or the people you associate with in your future, you could even extend your life longer and longer. You know, I think happiness is worth it. And that happiness is right out in front of you, Libra. So don't stay home. Get out among them. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time, Scorpio, when you can be feeling the heat and you can't get out of it. It may not hurt you as much as you think. And that would surprise you, but I don't think it'll hurt you as much as it could. But feeling the heat right now, definitely. And that is because tomorrow, the solar eclipse in Taurus at 0 degrees, along with the exalted moon, and Mercury and Uranus, are all opposing your sun, Scorpio. And one of your rulers, Pluto, is squaring your sun. And Pluto is the one that's setting up this harsh square to the solar eclipse. So there's definitely a financial matter that the terms of it will have to be revised, Scorpio. And you know, it's not that it's not due to anything that you have really done, Scorpio. It's due to these things that are a little bit out of all of our control. The high interest rates and the high debt and the low productivity and high inflation. I mean, it just changes the value of a lot of things. And so it sort of depends on what business you're in, or what you're planning to invest in, or what you've already invested in. You're going to have to revise the financial terms of something, Scorpio. And I still don't think that you're going to necessarily be hurt by that, but you would be wise. You would actually be wise to revise the terms. I mean, you could turn around and say, well, I shouldn't pay this inflated value because it's not worth it anymore. And we need to revise this. I could pay for what something is worth now, but not what it used to be worth, because, gee, that's just a loss. So think about something, Scorpio, that has to do with financial matters. I think it has to do with investments or the things that Taurus rules, high price, real estate, investments in anything, you know. Maybe you invested in things generously when times were better, but now things are not working out, and you would have to revise the terms even of your investments, because it's not the same anymore, the value of things. And so everybody is having to make adjustments, but you will really have to, Scorpio. I would say you just have to watch your budget a lot more closely. And there could be some shrinkage. If you're depending on investment income and the investment drops so much that the income isn't there anymore, you would have to make some revisions or adjustments, or do some buying and selling or whatever. On the other hand, I want to address the issue of how badly you could get hurt. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because Mars, your other ruler, is in Cancer trining your Sun. But so is Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And Mars and Saturn are two malefic planets. They aren't hurting you at all. And in fact, they can give you determination and stamina. And they can give you a return to things that are more important to you. So your priorities might be changing. And they would not be going to new priorities. You might actually be letting go of some priorities so that you could be a little bit more true to what is right for you today. You know, you might want to be looking inwardly and saying, okay, what can I handle today? Or what do I feel like doing today as compared to what you used to do? And then revise your budget somehow to support that. And you can do it, Scorpio. This takes a little thinking, but you can do it. And then you just have to prepare to revise some financial terms, or do some buying and selling to stabilize your budget at things that are of lower value now, in one way or another. You may even take some sort of a loss temporarily in the next year or two, but it would not continue to be a loss. It would be more of a short-term loss. It wouldn't continue to be a long-term loss. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Sagittarius. This is a time, Sagittarius, when you, just like Leo, should take advantage still of having Jupiter in Aries trining your Sun, because it represents new beginnings, and it is your ruler, Sagittarius. Lucky you. And so, if you are not thinking of a new beginning, if you're just sort of, thinking about, oh, the nice way things have been in the past, and you would just prefer to keep them that way, well, that is denying the future. Well, don't you want to make more room for the future, Sagittarius? You should. Pluto is in the sign of the future, Aquarius. Even though it's going to go back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius this year, it's going to be in Aquarius for, almost 2 decades. And it's going to be sextiling your sun the whole time. And you really need to think about taking a step up, Sagittarius. And I'll tell you why, a personal reason why, for you. And it's that nobody's getting any younger, including you. And you can't put off your mission. Your mission should be, if you haven't started your mission in life, you need to start it now. And it's something that you have always wanted to do, or you've always been concerned that somebody ought to fix the problem. Well, then that's your mission. You need to do it. And do it while Jupiter is still trining your sun. Get your foot in the door somehow, Sagittarius. Start going in the right direction that you know you're born for. And don't just say, oh, I'll do this after I retire, or I'll do this in 10 years. One thing that this solar eclipse is going to show us is that our identity is not tied up with just things that are represented by our financial worth. Our identity is much, and we are much more judged on our values, on what we value, truly value in our hearts. And the only way for people to know what that is to see it. And so you could say, well, I've always cared about this. Okay, prove it, Sagittarius. Go do it. Jupiter's trining your sun and it's your ruler. It's like something good is calling you, Sagittarius. And I didn't say it would be easy. I didn't even know, I don't know if how it's going to work out in the end. But I know it's going to get off to a great start, because Jupiter is in Aries, the sign of new starts. And that's what's calling you, a new start. But I just think it's on something that is your mission, that you already have really cared about in your heart for a long time. So I hope you go for it. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time, Capricorn, when just like Virgo, you too could see the light. And that is because there's so much light shining on your sun sign. And that is because tomorrow the solar eclipse with the sun, exalted new moon, Mercury and Uranus in Taurus are all trining your sun. And your own ruler, Saturn, is in Pisces, sextiling your sun. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be sextiling your sun for years. And so, and Neptune is there as well. And Pluto is in between that. You have a lot of very powerful planets ahead of your sun right now, Capricorn. And almost no planets behind your sun. You have Mars in Cancer opposing your sun sign, and Jupiter in Aries squaring it. But there's a whole bunch of planets in front of your sun sign right now. And so I think you can just walk into something you would love to do, Capricorn. Now, you don't have to do it forever, but you know, one thing does lead to another. And if you start off loving something and it just takes another turn and goes in another direction, well, you might love that too. So I don't think you have anything to lose right now, because there is so much light from the sign of Taurus shining right on you. Okay, so what could that involve right now? Well, it could involve money, your investments. Maybe you are wanting to make some adjustments in your investments because maybe the value of them has been fluctuating. So maybe you want to buy or sell something. I think that you would do quite well with that. I mean, if you're selling something, it's probably because it's going down. Well, you don't want it to go down anymore, do you? So selling it is probably a good idea. Or it is simply that you may want to realign or revise the financial terms on some sort of investment, maybe to give you a little additional income, because maybe you have something new you want to do. So whatever is involved with money or investments or banks or pension plans should work out pretty well for you, Capricorn. You would just need to review that. If other people are handling some of your income, you should review what they are doing. And you need to be happy with that. And if you're not happy with that, then you need to change something. But you could trust your own judgment. And maybe you're going to like everything and have all your money stay where it is. But if it's not working as hard for you as it could, then maybe you're going to need to change things up a little bit. Luckily, all the planets in Taurus are trining your sun, and Pluto in Aquarius, which is causing the problem, is right in front of your sun sign. It's sextiling your sun. I don't think you're going to be too hurt by some sort of hard landing, but it's going to be around you, Capricorn. You will see it. I'm not too sure it's going to hit you directly. But still, you need to review your finances. Make sure that they are working pretty hard, or at least as hard for you as you worked for them. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, somewhere in your life, there's a power play going on. Now, it might not be one that you've instigated, but if somebody else is making a power play right now, and you're somehow involved with them, or if it's a group and you belong to the group, okay, you could be affected by that, but you probably would not necessarily like what they're doing right now, because those 4 planets in Taurus are all being squared by Pluto in your sign. And Pluto represents powerful people. In this case, it would be powerful people in high tech, or that rule the space program, or aviation, or electricity, or or the telecommunications field, any of the things that Aquarius rules. You could be saying, okay, there's something wrong with the money here, and maybe you don't understand what some group is doing with the money. And so you need to get some really good advice right now, Aquarius, and from at least 2 different sources. In other words, if you had 3 financial questions you wanted to ask somebody, write them down, go ask one person, and then ask somebody else. And see if the answers match, because I'll bet you they're not going to. But still, that would be a good test. And it would give you a chance to sort of compare and contrast what people are doing with money right now. And that could help you decide what to do with yours. And the reason why I suggest 2 sources is because Venus is in Gemini, which rules 2 of everything, and it is trining your sun, and it is a wonderful planet. You would actually, since Gemini rules advice, you could get very good advice from both sources. Who knows? But it's time that you talk to some people about something that has to do with your financial arrangements or with a legal matter. Venus rules the law, it rules Libra, and it trines your sun, where you have Pluto. You can have a little bit more power over something than you realize, Aquarius. And I think you better stop thinking that everybody else is doing a great job. You don't know that till you ask, or until you have a way to compare. And so this is a good time to do that. Just go to 2 different sources about anything that you're thinking about, and ask the same questions both times, and see if the answers match. See what you can find out, because that would really benefit you. Venus is trining your sun, and you have Pluto in your sun sign. It's causing a mess right now, but it's not really the fault of Pluto. It's just, it's so harsh. It's at 0, and so is the sun and the exalted moon. I think the bottom is about to fall out of the financial real estate market, for sure. Particularly high-priced real estate. It's just going to fall out. And it can be because we don't know who holds the debt. But whoever is holding the debt is going to have to do something about it. And that's why I think the bottom is going to fall out of that. Okay, but that's not what the show is about today. So Aquarius, just try to get a couple of different opinions that people can be happy to talk to you about right now, just to see if you're satisfied with the answers to the things you're concerned about. There's nothing wrong with you asking questions. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Pisces. Pisces, this is a time when Pisces, your sign rules escape. Now it rules two kinds of escape because yours is a double-bodied mutable sign, ruled by the two fish, remember, that are swimming around in a circle. One of them's aiming high and the other one's going low. So Pisces, which way are you going to go? Well, hopefully you're going to aim high. And the reason why that would be a good thing for you to do right now, Pisces, is because Pluto is in Aquarius right behind your sun sign, where you have Saturn and Neptune, your own ruler, which is good for you. It gives you the ability to think about how to make your dreams come true. And I'd take advantage of that. Neptune's not going to stay in your sign for too much longer because it's nearing the end of the sign now. And so you really have to think a little bit more seriously about making some dream come true that, boy, you're really serious about it. You're really devoted to that dream. You just may have been doing a lot of other things and not paying too much attention to it. But now is a better time to do that. Because Pluto is right behind your sun sign, and it's in a sign that rules tomorrow. And it's a powerful planet of truth. And it has a lot to do with money management because it rules Scorpio. And then the solar eclipse, and then Jupiter's right ahead of your sun sign, and ahead of that are the 4 planets in Taurus under tomorrow's solar eclipse. So that's why I'm mentioning escape. And then Mars in Cancer is trining your sun, which is a very good aspect for you. It means that even if you wanted to do something that is a little foolish right now, Pisces, somebody wouldn't let you, or you just wouldn't, they wouldn't agree, and that could be a lifesaver for you, Pisces. I mean, you don't always have to have everything your own way, or your sign rules 2 of everything. You don't have to have everything both ways. And so now is a much better time, with so many planets surrounding your sun sign and putting sort of pressure, sort of good pressure, on your sun sign, and with your sign being fortified by that Mars in Cancer right now. And all the planets in Taurus sextile your sun. They are not hurting you. That's what I mean by escape. Oddly enough, Pisces, you might be the person who's in exactly the right place at the right time to avoid a financial collapse or some sort of financial setback. It may occur to somebody else that you know, but not necessarily to you. Okay, and so I would get down on my knees and thank my lucky stars if it doesn't happen to you, Pisces, but it doesn't look like it will. And so you should be maybe a little bit quiet right now, because you may enjoy the good fortune of wonderful friends and a comfortable home and able to put enough food on the table and happiness and a simple life. And the blessing of that could make you feel so lucky is that you could see around you that other people are having bigger problems than you've got. And you can't exactly do anything about their problems. I mean, there's some real big problems in life that you know, I don't know who's going to solve them, but they're real big. But you may not be, you're right in the middle of a whole bunch of conflict that could be happening to other people instead of you. And for that reason, I would get down on my knees and say a little prayer of thanks, because this hard landing isn't going to be pretty. And as I said, it's happening somewhere. It's going to happen somewhere. So it could be in another country. But whenever it happens, I actually think it's already started. But when we finally find out about it, I mean, the news could be bad enough that somebody's trying to cover it up. But it's going to come out. And you just may not be too hurt by that. But I wouldn't talk to anybody about that if I were you, Pisces. Keep your good fortune to yourself. And Mars in Cancer is trining your Sun. There are some people that could be fiercely protective of you right now, which is nice. You could have some protection around somewhere. Just don't take any risks right now, Pisces. Just don't take any risks. So don't think you can have it both ways right now. Be thankful for what you've got. You are blessed right now. I hope you appreciate it. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show on my Karen Campbell YouTube channel, and if you subscribe to it and tell your friends, I'd be happy to send it to you every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And you can read the blog on my website, STARBORNinstitute.org. It sort of more deeply explains the theme of every show every week. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.